Greetings, flow state Jedis from all over the world. First of all, I want to apologize for my voice. It's been absolutely shattered because I'm going through some kind of a throat chakra upgrade, some kind of a sinus thing happening right now. As you guys know, I did that seed grower session and a bunch of other things, so it was a lot of upgrades at once. And I don't think my body could handle it because it took a lot of time and processing and things like this. But I'm good, man. I'm back. I'm drinking some nice caffeine here. Kind of walking around my, ground floor here in Kolkata, India. Here to speak to you guys about a very, very important topic. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of the law of attraction, but have you heard of the law of assumption? Okay, to assume the role of something, to be able to act it till you fact it, as I say in my book TPM. Go check that out. Instead of fake it till you make it, which is dead. That mentality of faking it's not going to align with you. You got to change that word up. You got to be able to make it real and recognize the realness in what you're actually doing. Like when something manifests in your life, you got to recognize the reality of that, the fact that the seed was planted way back. Now, there's a hidden or lost principle in the occult that a lot of people don't know, and it comes from the G of the actual Illuminati. Like you guys gotta really understand this, okay? G means Genesis. And I'm revealing all this information out like on a video like this. I don't know what they're gonna do once they find this, whoever they are, the elites or whatever. But in any case, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to reveal this factor because I think it's very, very important in our acceleration and our ascension. So if you've heard of the Hermetic principles, there's 7 Hermetic principles. But there's a hidden or lost principle that a lot of people overlook, or they don't even discuss in major arcana or occult teachings anymore. So there's arcana and major arcana, right? And then basically you want to start to understand that the 8th principle is almost like a container. It's the principle that holds all the other principles within it. So you know how you start from the tree of life, right? 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes, more, and so forth. Like that's kind of how we've split, and that's how cells divide, right? Cell, mitosis, meiosis, we learned that shit in high school or whatever, right? So, primarily what you want to understand about the generative principle is, it's the creation principle. The generative principle, a lot of people might think it's love, okay? Love makes the planet go round, right? Wasn't that like a song from Powerpuff Girls? Love, love, love makes the world go round, that Bubbles was singing. It's not that, okay? It's not that. But it's close enough to it. And it's not compassion either. A lot of people would think it's compassion. But it's actually care, okay? And I talked about this earlier, calling it what did I call it? Core intention technology, as I was taught by Vince Calvin, okay? Core intention technology. So CIT is basically this understanding that everything comes from care. And that's similar to the generative principle, okay? So the word is care. Everything stems from care. Like, why are we angry? We care about the situation. Why are we sad? We care about the situation. And when we care about something, we pay more attention to that thing, and then it forms and it manifests. So sometimes your manifestations don't come true because you just don't care about it enough. Okay? This is a very hard truth that a lot of us are going to have to accept, because there's a lot of woo-woo science out there, and I'm a scientist first and foremost. I understand that a lot of this stuff is self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's not this weird pseudoscience thing. But understanding the science of vibration is still at almost like a crossroads. We can't really go beyond what we know, in a sense. Our level of consciousness is here where it could be here. So when you want to understand that truth, imagine a line is like truth, right? And your frequency, your vibration, the faster the vibration, if it's going like this, it's touching the line closer to the truth, right? But then one could also slow their vibration down so much that it goes to the truth, but that's a weird path working, right? That's how the left-hand path will take you. The black magicians will take you down that path, lower your vibration so much that you go to the truth, right? Whereas there's this other field that says that, you know, just high vibes, positivity will get you there because it's touching the truth so much, and it's right? So the wavelength through the line of truth. And then there's others in between and so forth. So we are kind of this understanding of the gray mages. And we understand we are here to understand truth. They're here to get closer to truth. And we understand the generative principle, which is care. So we are primarily interested in healing in Primal Sutra, right? And so one thing to understand is when you stop caring about something, it will generally fade away. Okay, like let's say that you stopped caring about a person, you stopped talking to them, you stopped thinking about them, you stopped reaching out to them, you stopped, you know, you're gonna forget them. Like your mind is just gonna bloop, like take it away. Unless there was what? Emotions involved. A lot of deep stored emotions involved, which oftentimes our emotions are linked to our thoughts. And our thoughts are related. So our thoughts create our emotions create our actions with more thoughts, right? And that's that cycle. So you got to understand that it comes from your thoughts. Yes, law of attraction, right? And then there's the feeling element, and then there's also the taking action element, which kind of concludes the cycle. And this is cognitive behavior therapy, right? I'm not like thinking of like, you know, some magical, tool that I got downloaded through my mind, okay? Which that does happen to me too, so I'm not gonna, bypass that. Like I do have different messages from different deities that come in. But this is not that, okay? This is pure fact. And that's the thing though. You can't get so caught up in the facts and you can't get so caught up in the feelings. You gotta remain centered. This is what alignment means, closer to the truth. And even David R. Hawkins talks about this, on how above courage it's truth and below courage is falsehood, it's illusion. So fear, shame, guilt, apathy, anger, all these things are falling more and more away from the truth. So in a sense, it's self-generative, right? The generative principle. So you're angry because you're making yourself angry. It's like, it's really important to understand this, right? We are very, very addicted to these negative emotions, as well as positive emotions. Like emotions that can get very addictive. And then we fall into a pattern of addiction to these emotional states of, you know what love bombing is, right? When someone basically gives you an unpredictable behavior. Like one day they say they love you and the next day they're just like, what, man, whatever. That causes a spike of dopamine similar to addictions like gambling or taking drugs, right? So we can get very, very addicted to this principle of someone not giving us the love. And it goes back to our very baseline understanding of when we were younger, right? Did we receive the love? Did we receive not only the love, but the care? So a lot of parents who cared about their kids gave them really great lives, okay? Now, both my parents were working. They couldn't give me all the love or all the care, but they definitely gave me a lot of love and care. And that's why I am where I am today, I passed with a master's, with a merit, all this kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be able to do that without that kind of support from them growing up. And also them being both doctors and working through this phase where, it's really difficult to be a doctor, man. It's not an easy task to just be a doctor, especially in India. It's like a whole ordeal that you have to go through. So I respect them to that level, that they've given me the opportunity to heal through a different lens, to heal through my own perspectives, my positive psychology knowledge, as well as knowledge about the occult, as well as knowledge about healing, as well as knowledge about Ayurveda and this culture here, and the Rig Vedas or the Upanishads, and me looking through all of these old texts to try to transfigure them and bring them through to you guys, like like little sound bites or little biscuits or whatever you want to call them, right? These little anecdotes or truth tsunamis that you hear from me, they're all a conglomeration of all of my ideas, and I'm just putting them through. I'm just kind of placing them one by one after the other, right, to make sense of everything, okay? And that's what I'm doing. So I took some notes here, actually. Let me just go through some of these, see if I'm missing out on something. Oh yeah, so a lot of self-help is shelf-help, okay? So a lot of my life, I've just bought a bunch of self-help books that I've never read. I'm sure some of you are like this too, right? You're like, oh, there's that one book that I haven't read, and that person recommended it to me. That must mean that it's good. Okay, then never read it. One rule that I've always told myself is don't read a book with an author that you don't want to be like. Straight up. Don't read a book with an author you don't like their mannerisms, you don't like the way that they speak, you don't like their mentality or vibe. Don't read that book. What are you doing? Because you are literally reading their word and their expression. You get what I'm saying? Like, you are literally taking and ingesting what they're telling you. And I've actually given myself like a self-help junkie task, which is to read one book 1 month, and that's what we were doing. It kind of fizzled out after a point, the Flow State Book Club, but I think we might re-emerge it after a while. I think from next month or the month after, we will re-emerge it. But start to understand that it's not about the books, okay? It's about what you do with the knowledge from the books. So the role and the feeling creates the character, okay? You are the universe in form. It's just identity needs to be developed. Identity is where it all starts. So you gotta care about yourself, self-care, right? So if the generative principle is the main principle holding together all of the Hermetic principles, right? The perennial wisdom, guess what? You gotta have self-care in order to maintain your manifestations, the things that you're creating, right? If you don't like something, you can't just label it as low vibration and put it away from you. There's inner work involved. And a lot of these, whatever, snake oil, charlatan, speakers or whatever, they'll just say whatever they want, just to get you to buy into their ideologies. And hey, a lot of it is packaged with a lot of good ideas, right? So you can't hate on those good ideas. It's like, don't shoot the messenger in a sense, right? So it's about understanding that you have to create relevance, you got to take action, and you got to be effective, but at the same time you got to have your intuition alive, right? This is what is called as, I wrote it down, intellect plus creativity equals holistic intelligence. Okay, so holistic intelligence is this idea of combining both the hemispheres of your brain. Okay, so the longer the wavelength, the sharper you're going to become. Okay, you could either go to one side, and one side of your brain being more dominant, which we've seen the problems that causes, right? It makes someone so dominant, controlling, and selfish that their own logic and intellect kind of cuts them up and eats them up alive, right? They become too logical to even enjoy or embrace pleasure or do any of these things here in life. And on the other side, you become a pussy. You become submissive, naive. Speaking of pussy, you just become like this, shell. It's just like so passive and timid, and you go into your internal world and you just start creating and you become imaginative, right? But that's still off. You're still off code in a sense. You're still off of that holistic intelligence. You're maybe using only your creativity and not your intellect. Maybe you're using your intellect and not your creativity. But guess what? All the geniuses, the polymaths, the people who are trailblazers, the Michael Jordans, the people who walk into the room and you can feel their energy and aura, the charismatic individuals, okay? Those people are the ones that carry forward this generative principle. And you got to understand that this lost principle is what will really bring you a sense of awareness, okay? Because what you care about, you hold on to, you cherish, you nurture. You don't let go of it, okay? So stop caring about things that are meaningless to you. Stop adding more care to things that are, not serving you. Why are you caring so much about that, right? This is what the trap is. This is what the trap is. This is what the media knows. They'll talk about all these sensationalist topics and get you to care about something that has nothing to do with you and doesn't impact you in any way, but in a sense it does, because you are a consciousness that's connected to everything. But if you feed your brain with the narratives of, this is not going to work for me, but the world is going to shit anyway, I don't know, you're caring about the wrong things, bro. You're caring about all the wrong things, okay? Start caring about the things that will bring you expansiveness, flow state, and intelligence in your life. A holistic intelligence. Not just a lopsided one where you're not even, you're like barely functioning, right? So that's what I wanted to tell you today. I hope this resonates. I know you can hear like the stuffiness of my voice, and I can't even hear myself. I hear myself echoing in like one ear, like this side, and like the other side. Maybe it has to do with, the lopsidedness. I need to find my holistic intelligence today. And maybe this is a part of it. It's like recording this video. But yeah, man, I hope you enjoyed this, learning about this concept. And I've been really thinking about this too, like, the law of assumption thing. Hold on, my finger's getting a bit heavy. To hold this phone up. Let me just put it down somewhere, actually, that would help. Hold on. No. Go into nature. Steve Irwin discovers that there's a new forest animal to be discovered. However, he never knows what to do with it. So, crikey, mate. I like to do silly stuff like that, you guys know. Alright, bet. So, law of assumption. Assume your reality. Your assumptions create your reality, okay? This is the thing. Your perception is not reality, remember, but it does create it. So that's the self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense, okay? So if you believe it, you are the placebo in a sense, okay? So if you think about like the fact that your beliefs, it starts with your belief systems basically, right? So first of all, we got to topple the limiting beliefs over, and then we got to restart the whole maze from scratch, right? From a blank slate. Basically, everything is that blank slate in a sense. It's not anything formed. It's formless, okay? So the more we can understand that, we can get back to our truth and back to our power. I'm connected with the all, the one, the source, God. And then through there are different little fragments, some going higher, some going lower, from oversoul to underworld, and understanding, the power of that, okay? Now, a lot of times people will misconstrue these teachings, and positive thinking brings more positive action. Yeah, that's true. You know, that's the whole model I described to you. But we can't be so reductionist and simplify this information for the masses, you know? Like, they're going to take it in some weird context, in some weird way. And there's a lot of nuances to understand about these things, right? And especially lived nuances. So, let me just see if I wrote anything down here about... Ah, yes. The external affects the internal. Yeah. So a lot of this law of attraction belief is the fact that attraction is happening outside of you, right? So you are trying to put yourself in and think about something, right? Using your thoughts, using daydreaming, basically. And then eventually the universe will pick it all up, scoop it all up, and hand you a packaged bow. That's not how it works, okay? What you do is, you're already there. You assume the reality, you move with it, okay? That's going to help you way better, and your manifestations will be a lot faster if you take on this type of model of thinking, okay? Instead of trying to help the universe scoop it all up and serve you a Capri Sun with it, instead of that, you want to understand that, hey, every day in every way I'm getting better and better, right? Emile Coué, you already know, right? Some of you know that. So, Emile Coué, man, he had this amazing affirmation that he just used to repeat every day in every way. He's getting better and better. Now, that is one of the OG original affirmations that I recommend to everybody because it's such a powerful one. It's every day you're actually noticing, you're caring about, again, going back to the generative principle, if you're saying something, you're caring about the fact that you're improving and things are getting better, and you're placing importance and gratitude on the fact that things are getting better. So when you're saying an affirmation, don't just say it like from your thoughts and your thinking, say it with feeling, because it's got to have a reason. Otherwise, you're just in this feeling of lack, right? Why are you saying, I'm confident, when you're not feeling it? Okay? Now again, yes, with a lot of repetition, it will sink in, but also I believe in effectiveness. I want you guys to get results quickly, not spend, a weekend, or not a weekend, but like months, learning this affirmation stuff. But try this, a lot of people say that, try this for 30 days, try this for 21 days, but no, really, try caring about something that you really care about for 30 days and see what happens to you, okay? And what do I mean about care about, right? Your values, that's where everything starts to emerge from. That's the seed that is planted of care, which goes into your values, and then it goes into beliefs, and then it goes into mindset, and then it goes into behaviors, and then it goes, right? And it starts to form this incredible symphony or a skyscraper or whatever analogy you want to use, okay? So your values, beauty, truth, love, power, honor, respect, loyalty. What are some other ones, man? Tell me your favorite value in the comment section. The value of laughter or humor, right? Creativity, perspective, which is my favorite one of my favorite values in action. And you can do the VIA strength quiz as well if you haven't done it. Please check that out, because that's one of the great ways you can find clarity and direction in your life to actually use the strengths that you want to get the job done, to make it more effortless and effective for you. Because why? Because you're working with your superpowers, bro, instead of your kryptonite. You're put into a job situation or a relationship situation where you're not using your superpowers. So we got to optimize that and understand that, hey, and say, hey, okay? You've got to put yourself, not we. I mean, unless you want to work with me co-creatively and coach with me. You got to put yourself into a situation where you're like, hey, I actually feel like I can evolve using this value today. Like, let's say if it's loyalty. How many times in situations in your life do you have references of you being loyal to something? Okay? And maybe there's some limiting beliefs blocking that value. So maybe there's also on the opposing side, if you stand for loyalty, you also don't stand for disloyalty. But there may be times that you've been disloyal. So that is like, you're losing your charge of that value in a sense. So you have to strengthen it so that it's emanating with life force energy in a sense. Okay? So, you know, one of my ones is, I remember, one of my one used to be harmony a while back. I still believe that harmony is great, but the opposite was like discord or like disharmony or ignorance, I called it, right? Ignorance would be the opposite because it's like the not knowing, and the wisdom, I think, or harmony or something was on the other side. I made this list, right, in the past where I would just write all my top values, what I stood for, and then on the opposite end, the counter values, the anti-values that I don't stand for, right? And that really helped me gain clarity, and I shared this with a lot of my top high-end clients, including my local clients here in India, that this was the thing to do, okay, back in the day. It's still the thing to do. I'm resurrecting it now. So if you make a list of your top values and you're looking at it, every day you have a choice. You can trust in that one value, or you can get eaten up by that anti-value, okay? That anti-value is going to slowly try to take your power. But this is why we are warriors. We're spiritual warriors. Every day, we're fighting. But we're not just fighters, we're also lovers. Okay? And so we got to understand that we're fighting, and then we're loving ourselves. And then we're fighting again. And then we're loving the world. And then we're fighting again. Okay? This is the kind of sleep-wake state that we're in. But we're not fighting for the sake of fighting, because again, some of you were like, oh, that's too aggressive to use a word like fighting. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay? Look, stop trying to, like, you know, suffocate my masculine expression. Okay? I actually don't appreciate that. Okay? I actually don't appreciate that when someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, but I had something really important to say and express myself, and somebody else interrupting over me, or, you know, having a trauma response to it or a triggered response to it, when really my intention is care and wanting to help you. And hey, listen, some people are very sensitive, okay? So the sugar coating does help them, in a sense, sometimes get, you know, their frame of worldview and their reality, and it feels good to them, and everything feels so good, right? But then there's still aspects of their lives which they're hiding behind, and that doesn't feel good. But on the outside, they're Pollyanna sunshine. Everything's fine. I just gotta maintain this front for another week, and another month, and then another year, and then it keeps going. You're stuck in that paradigm now. Now you're just that person. You're afraid to do anything outside of that role. And the law of assumption states that it's about a role that you step into. So maybe you're just stepping into the role. You assume the role of what you want, right? Of what you desire. So if you want to be more confident, you got to assume that you already are. You got to assume that you're already a confident person. And how do you do this? You find the references. Man, remember that time when no one in class was speaking up and then I raised my hand and talked? Do you remember that time then? And you can even make up things from the past like this. Because, again, this is not like tricking your mind or whatever, but the mind will believe whatever you tell it, especially if it's the past. Right? It just labels the past as truth, in a sense. So you got to understand that dynamic too. Okay? Man, you know what I'm so grateful for? Remember that time when I was making this YouTube video? and so many people around the world were watching and they got epiphanies. Yeah, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's the energy, that's the frequency I want to bring to you today. Even though I'm a little bit, you know, sore throat or whatever, like I'm still in my element, and you guys can feel it, right? It's coming off of me to the camera. A lot of people, when they're sick, they drain energy, right? They're like, oh, I feel so bad. You know, when they stay in bed, you know, maybe they're drinking soup. They're doing all the stereotypical things that people do when they're ill or whatever, you know? And again, I've taken my care, you know, taken my rest. I know what it's about. But when it's time to speak, I'm crystal clear, baby. Let's go. Upward spiral gang, may we never be the same again. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. You already got this, man. You already got this. Let's go.